Hello, world. Welcome to another edition of the Bleed Blue Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Broom. We got a packed show in store for this episode, but before I begin, I just want to take this opportunity to congratulate our two new staff members. We've got James Scott coming in. He's going to contribute with me on the basketball end of things, and Mike Nemitz for football, who he's very knowledgeable. Both guys are very knowledgeable, and looking forward to working with them. So, if you get the chance, give them a shout out, show them some support through us. It would mean a lot. It's been an action-packed few weeks since the last time we met, but we are a recruiting podcast, so let's lead off with the biggest story from the last 2 weeks or so, which was the commit of wide receiver Drake Harris for the 2014 class. Harris, as you know, decommitted from Michigan State earlier this year after he decided that he was just going to focus on football. He was a sought-after basketball recruit as well. So dual sport-wise, Michigan State was probably a good fit for him. Harris was on Michigan's campus for 3 weekends in a row, attending basketball games against Illinois, Michigan State, and Indiana. So it was kind of becoming apparent that Michigan was definitely in the lead for this guy. He committed to the Wolverines the weekend of the spring game after speaking with Coach Hoke, and it really sounds like the family atmosphere of U of M was what put him over the top. Harris is one of the top receivers in the country. The Wolverines nabbed themselves a player, and it's a little bit under the radar outside of this region. He hasn't gotten quite the praise you would think yet, but these Midwest recruits never do. He has elite playmaking ability and athleticism. He's definitely would be the deep threat that they haven't had in a while. I mean, at least since Manningham, maybe. I don't know if you could really call Junior Hemingway a deep threat, but definitely, a good get for them. He's rated as a 4-star by the major services, but this guy's a monster, and he really should have a good college career that sets him up for success in the NFL. Comparison-wise, a lot of guys have said he looks like Dwayne Bowe, maybe Justin Hunter. He'll be out, probably drafted Thursday in the first round of the draft, but pair those kind of guys with Devin Gardner and Wilton Spate or Shane Morris in the future, and Michigan has themselves one of the top weapons for those guys. So it's definitely a positive for them. It's a huge get, and hopefully he sticks to it. With sort of it's sort of an abbreviated class this year. Kyle talked to Steve Lorenz the other night from 24/7. He said it's probably a 16 to 19 spot class, depending on attrition. You could have guys that declare early for the draft. Taylor Lewan, well, no, he'll be a senior, but if Devin Gardner goes out and has a stud year, maybe goes to the NFL, that'll be another spot that opens up. So, looking at 16 to 19 right now. Scholarships will probably come off the board fast. They've got quite a few commits already. But Coach Hoke said he'll probably take 3 wide receivers. Now, Drake Harris fills one of those roles, so there's 2 left, and there's 3 realistic guys that are going for it. But I think the top 2, well, I'll start with Artavis Scott. He, on some sites, is actually rated higher than Harris, but he's more of a slot receiver, kind of slot receiver that every great offense and great quarterback seems to have. Much in the mold of a Wes Welker, Ryan Broyles, Jordan Shipley, guys like that. When teams try to take away Harris on the outside, this is the type of guy that can be a safety net for the quarterback between the hash marks, and you could really open things up for these other guys. Reports I've seen have Scott very high on Michigan, and I think if he had to make a choice today, that would probably be the pick for him. But I'm not in his head, so I don't know. Other guy that I think becomes a Wolverine, who's another under-the-radar guy, is Maurice Ways out of Detroit Country Day. Waze is a bigger receiver like Harris, probably an outside guy, and I am shocked he's not ranked higher. It seems like like I said earlier, these services are kind of unfair to these Midwest guys because they're not quite the football hotbeds like your Alabamas and your Georgias and your Floridas are, but this kid can flat out play. Because here's the thing about recruiting rankings: they're a good way to gauge the talent you have coming in, but it doesn't necessarily mean that player's going to project to that. There are a ton of guys that come in as 5 stars, and by the end of their careers, they're low-end NFL draft picks, or they don't get drafted at all. And then there's 3 or 4 stars who rise to the top and do what they do. I mean, Andrew Luck I believe he was a 4-star coming out of college, but I mean, he was easily the best quarterback prospect to enter the league in a while. So it's all about how these coaches develop these players, and Maurice Waze has a skill set that I think would fit in good in this offense, and I think they definitely have the staff to develop guys like that. Because, I mean, no disrespect to these guys, but look at what they've been able to do with guys like Drew Dillio and Jeremy Gallon, and these guys aren't elite playmakers, but they have improved nicely, and I've been very impressed with what they've done. But Waze has great hands. He knows how to go up and get the ball. And from what I've seen, he's a heavy Michigan lead right now. So I think we might see a commit from him very soon. Other guys that could be in the mix, but that are less likely, are KJ Williams and Marshawn Lattimore. We'll have to see what shakes out with these other guys first. Scott is definitely the one that could, either cement the wide receiver group or give these other guys a shot. And if Scott decides to go somewhere else, someone else could slide in there. Mark Andrews is a wide receiver, but he's most likely going to play tight end in college, so I don't think this would affect him. I think they're looking at tight end for him, so I think that's probably what he'll be going forward. Staying on football, Michigan just recently wrapped up their spring practices with the spring game at the Big House. This was most of Wolverine Nation's, the less privileged like me, their first chance to get a glimpse at next year's team, and there are definitely guys to be impressed by. I don't know how much stock you can put into it because it was really just a glorified practice, but Devin Gardner looked good. Picked right up where he left off last year. To me, it looks like he's definitely the guy. So that they wouldn't have fought so hard for that next year eligibility if they didn't think he could. But he's definitely your guy as long as he chooses to stay. With Shane Morris not coming into the summer and Russell Bellamy out with a torn ACL, Brian Cleary was the guy who took second-team snaps, and he looked okay. But that second quarterback spot is going to be one of the more intriguing storylines coming out of camp in the summertime. As of now, I'd say Morris probably emerges from that crop. There's a lot of talk that Bellamy would be the guy, and Morris would redshirt, but this is the kind of thing that opens up Morris to probably see some snaps this year. So we'll have to pay attention to that. I want to talk about 2 players that impressed me when I went back and watched the game. Linebacker James Ross III was a stud the whole time, and he looked awesome in run support. Guys like Ross are the reason why I feel pretty good about how the defense looks, or will look, in the absence of Jake Ryan. He may not be the playmaker that Ryan is, but he looked great. I look forward to seeing how he plays this season. On offense, the guy that's getting a ton of love is running back Dennis Norfleet. I think he could be the breakout player of this season on that side of the ball, and maybe for the team. But for all the talk that Derek Green and Fitz Toussaint get, Norfleet's role in this offense could be huge. Green or Fitz will likely start, but I think Norfleet looks to me like a guy who can fill that change of pace, Reggie Bush, Darren Sproles type of back on this team. He can catch the ball out of the backfield and can also return kicks. So he'll definitely be a weapon that they'll utilize this year, and he should help out Gardner a lot. And another guy, I didn't include him in my notes, but I just thought of it right now, was Jake Butt looked pretty good too. He's a tight end, the freshman that's coming in this year. Funchess is locked in that one tight end spot. But if you're going two tight end set, I think Butt's the guy. There was a play where Gardner threaded the needle and put it right where the only place that Butt could get to it, and he did, and he looked good. I think he'll be a player this year too. But I want to switch over to basketball real quick. These NBA prospects, namely Trey Burke, who, along with Tim Hardaway Jr., announced last week that they will be going pro and entering the draft. Mitch McGary and Glenn Robinson III announced together that they will return, which is huge for Michigan. With a great recruiting class coming in, Zach Irvin, who Rivals just bumped him up to a 5-star. Derek Walton's coming in. Mark Donnell's coming in. I think they'll still compete next year, and they'll be a good team. But I'll go more into that in the next episode. It definitely won't be easy to replace Trey Burke. The National Player of the Year is likely a top 5 pick in this year's draft, and I think he made the right call to leave. His stock is never going to be higher than it is. And in a weakened draft class, he's shot right up the boards. Chad Ford of ESPN has him off at number 5, going to the Hornets, which should be kind of ironic considering that the guy he's been compared to, Chris Paul, was his original team. So a little storyline there. He's compared to Chris Paul, but I think that's a little lofty, especially because Chris Paul is probably the best point guard in the league, and I think Paul's a little bit better of a distributor. I think Trey's got a little bit more scoring flair than Paul does, but he's got to get stronger though, is the deal. That could come with time, but for now I don't see him as a Chris Paul type of player. I think he's got a little bit of Tony Parker in his game, which a lot of people have said that's kind of interesting. The closest comparison to me would be Kemba Walker from the Bobcats. I think that's where Trey fits in this league. I think that's the type of player he is. Not necessarily a superstar, but a guy who can, give you 6 or 7 dishes a game, maybe 16, 17 points a game. And, in the NBA, that's a good career. And I actually saw a mock where they had Burke going 10 to the Thunder. And the reason the Thunder have that pick is they got that first-round pick from the Hornets not the Hornets, the Rockets. They got a pick from the Rockets in that James Harden trade, and so OKC could slide into the lottery, and that's where the basketball nerd in me starts to freak out, because a lot of people give Russell Westbrook trouble because he's a point guard, but move him off the ball, move Trey Burke there, and oh my God, that would just make my head explode. But I'm getting off topic here. Hardaway, on the other hand, I just don't know about him. Many draft experts have him as a mid to late second round pick. So, for most guys, I don't see why that would be attractive to come out for. He doesn't really have a single thing that stands out about him except for his inconsistencies. He's very good at a lot of things, but he just doesn't have that one thing that, his signature trait. If he could develop his dad's crossover, he would be awesome, because he definitely has the range to hit that outside shot. But on the other hand, he's probably as good as he'll ever be. Coming back next year isn't going to raise his stock at all. He is what he is, and that's okay. So why not make the jump to the league? I don't want to. You can't deny the impact he had on this year's team. But the reason I feel good about it going forward is because of the guy that they have coming in to replace him, and that's Zach Irvin. You can check out the website and see I talked to him recently, and we have a profile up for him. So I think they're in good hands going forward. Looking to next year for them, though, they do have 2 roster spots open now, which will likely be filled by a lower-rated recruit or walk-on player, which actually one of them was John Beilein has been in touch with Andrew Dakich, who, yes, he is the son of ESPN's Dan Dakich, who I know Wolverine fans love, but he's a point guard out of Indiana. Maybe this is a little crazy of a projection, but he does look like, to me, he's a smaller guy like Albrecht, like Spike Albrecht, and they're very similar players. So I think if you got a guy like that to come in, one of the last guys off the bench, I don't think that'd be too bad for you. But a lot of people have been asking about some guys that are still out there, and I just thought I'd clear it up that Andrew Wiggins won't be walking through the door anytime soon. So, the key guys are pretty much set for this class, and I'll have a few more guys coming in. So that's all I have for this time around. You can follow me on Twitter at BleedBlueBroom. That's broom with an E at the end, not like the sweeping broom. Or our website at BBlueRecruiting. Also check out the website. A lot of these guys I talked about, we have profiles, and Dave and Nick have quick analysis up on them, and there's a lot of good stuff to check out. So, wide receivers, check out the profiles. It's good reads for you. That's bleedbluerecruiting.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.